Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video I'm going to go through my transfer plans for game week 21. I'm also going to go through some of the players that are on my watch list I'm going to be keeping my eye on over the next few game weeks. So if you enjoy these sort of videos, give it a like, don't forget to subscribe, and in the meantime, let's have a look. On screen then I have my side as it is set up for game week 21. There's still a couple of matches still left to play in game week 20. There's Manchester City versus Tottenham, Palace against Manchester United. So I will wait on those before making any transfer decisions, especially as I want to see Martial and how he performs if he gets minutes. There is a concern for me over him, but the fact that he might get a double in game week 22 does make me want to keep him. I almost feel like I need an excuse to get rid of him. I want to almost get rid of him. He's just not performing, but doubles and the fixtures just keep him hanging in there. And I do think it's still the right decision to have him up front. We'll see what he does against Palace, how he performs if he even starts. I'm worried about that before making any further decisions on him, but I've got options that I could move him to. All in all, though, the side looked pretty good. I always knew the game week 21 is going to be a bit of a road bump. There's going to be a bit of pain in this game week because some of the bigger teams just play each other. We've got Arsenal playing against Manchester United, and when you've got three United players, that's always going to be a problem. Then you have Chelsea away at Liverpool, and I've got to doubled up on them defence. Cucurella just not playing, so that becomes an issue. So I've got £2.5 million in the bank. I've got two transfers that I can make. So I've definitely got to use something and do something. And I think I need to do something in any case. One thing that is just zooming in or looming up in the horizon is game week 25. Now, currently, we don't know who's going to be in the EFL Cup final, but more than likely, we think it's going to be Manchester United versus Newcastle. If Man United overcome Forest, Newcastle overcome Southampton, and you'd have to expect that to be the case, then they will both blank in game week 25. Along with them blanking in game week 25, you could have Brentford and Brighton. But as you see, I will therefore lose my two Newcastle players, Almiron and Trippier, Shaw, Rashford and Martial go. That leaves me with a bare bones of a side. If you then add into the mix that Patterson's out injured and Somerville's out injured currently, now they should be back before the EFL Cup final, mid-February. They're due to be back at the start, but there's no guarantee that they're going to come straight back into the side. There might not be, maybe a reoccurrence. There may be other issues before then that causes me problems in my side. So at best at the moment, with no transfers, I've got 9 players going out into game week 25, and I just need to start thinking about possible players to bring in. On the other side of the coin as well, I know that Arsenal have great fixtures, and I just don't have any Arsenal players coming up. They've got Manchester United at home this weekend, so a little bit reticent about possibly bringing someone in for that game. But after that, they have the double game week coming up in game week 23. So I think not having any Arsenal players since the World Cup has been a mistake. They've just been phenomenal. I think I've underestimated how good they were. I definitely looked at the fixtures, saw that they were pretty tricky, and then I've decided I just don't want them. And I still stand by the fixtures really hard, but they've just breezed through them. Away at Tottenham was a great result. Winning away at Brighton and scoring 4 was impressive. Newcastle, they didn't do it. So they've had some difficult fixtures, but they've still come through them. And I just don't have those Arsenal players. And with the double coming up, that could really hurt me. So I do want to start thinking about bringing those players in. Other players I do. I mean, Cucurella is not playing in the side at the moment, so I need to think about what I'm going to do with him. And apart from that, Somerville on the bench, Patterson, possibly I could upgrade with the extra money I've got, but Brentford and Brighton potentially could blank as well in game week 25 if those two sides get through the EFL Cup final. We will know a little bit more in advance who will be making the final, possibly even after the first legs played next week, and that will guide us a little bit, but I need to have that in the back of my mind at the moment. So Cucurella at the moment, I'd say, is my number one priority. He's just not playing. Looking back, I could have gone Chalobah. It felt like he was a bit of a safer bet, Cucurella. As it's turned out, Chalobah's playing more games, but that Chelsea side's just not been as tight as perhaps they could have been, and they've just been riddled with injuries. Initially, it was James, then I moved to Cucurella. It's just not panned out. That double game week didn't really work out, and Cucurella just not getting game time. So he has got to come out. Think away at Liverpool. I don't really want him in playing in any case, but they've got Fulham and Southampton 2 out of the next 3 weeks. That looks like a decent set of fixtures. So, yeah, Cucurella comes out 5.2. Who do I replace him with is the options. First player I'm going to look at, neither of the options I feel are very exciting, is Estupinian, as it's a really cheap defender playing for Brighton. He's played 16 times this season so far, been a mainstay in Potter and since De Zerbi's side. Not much of a goal threat is the only thing I'd say. At XGI of just 0.18, nowhere near the likes of Trippier or Robertson or even James. But they do have the clean sheet potential to put into that as well. One of the tightest defences in the Premier League. And those fixtures look decent. Away at Leicester, we know how badly they're struggling. Bournemouth at home looks a great fixture. Palace and then Fulham. Next 4 games look really good for clean sheets. You wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of them in there. So that would save me a bit of money going down to Estupinian. But the only problem I've got is that game week 25, potentially they will not play and they will blank. So that seems to just add to my problems. So I'm a little bit reticent about that. So the other option that I would have, and it feels, again, not very exciting, but I just feel like I need to make it, is that double coming up in game week 23, Brentford and Man City, is bringing Ben White. Not feels like the best time to do it against at home to Manchester United, but then you've got away at Everton, away at Villa, decent fixtures, I think. I quite like the idea of Ben White. Saves me some money as well. He just played every single game this season for Arsenal. He's been an absolute mainstay in their sides. 2 assists. Again, the goal threat's not wildly exciting at 0.13. But I know he's going to play as well. And the fact that Arsenal just don't have any European commitments just makes him all the more appealing. In terms of the pros, I've put down that he's absolutely nailed. He's got the double game week, which is definitely appealing. And he's just got a great defence. He's just playing for a brilliant defence in Arsenal, one of the best in the league at the moment. Cons, couldn't really think of many cons if I'm honest with you. One of the biggest cons I think is, he doesn't have much attacking threats, so he's not very exciting, but maybe he blocks an Arsenal player. If you want to go Saka and Nketiah or Martinelli or even Odegaard, it is taking out an Arsenal place. But I think I would want a piece of that Arsenal defence in any case. So Ben White looks like the option for me at the moment. I'm still going to wait to see what happens before the deadline, but that will be one of possibly my transfers that I'm 80% sure I'm going to make. Looking at other players then, I could upgrade Somerville. And again, looking at midfielders, I think it feels a bit knee-jerkish, but if you scored, 4 goals since the restart, you got 2 goals and an assist against Liverpool, he's got to be worth having a look at. So Solly March has done really well. 5.1 million, pretty cheap player as well. 4 goals, 4 assists. His XGI is pretty decent, 0.48. That is good. And Brighton's fixtures, as we've already seen, look really tasty as well. In terms of the pros for Solly March, what I quite like about him is he's absolutely nailed in that Brighton side, and the majority of his goal threat does come from goals. So expected goals 0.27. He's getting lots of shots in. He's averaging over 2 shots per game in good positions. And as we've already seen, the fixtures look pretty decent for Brighton as well. In terms of the cons, I wouldn't say there's a great deal of cons. Game week 25 is probably the biggest stumbling block. The price, there's possibly a better option in someone like Matoma at 5 million. I definitely think his underlying stats look better. So I think I would be more tempted to go to him. McAllister, as much as I like him, he's more expensive. I don't think he's got the goal threat. So again, Matoma would slightly more impressive if you're looking at the underlying stats. But March, obviously, can't deny he's in a rich vein of form. I think he's a good option as well. Other players that I would consider into that midfield then, not into the midfield, up front, is Ferguson. Now, I am really tempted. I've said it before, Martial's minutes are a worry for me. Vigor's been signed, possibly is going to take even more minutes away from Martial. You don't think he could take any less. But Ferguson at 4.5 looks like just a super cheap enabler that I don't mind putting on the bench. The only thing is he probably blocks off a route to someone like Tony or Mitrovic. But in 4 appearances, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists. His XGI is absolutely brilliant so far, 0.88, which is really high. And considering he's only 4.5, and the encouraging thing is about him is he hasn't got a lot of competition. You've got Ndafu, who doesn't seem to be favoured by Potter or by De Zerbi. Then you have the likes of Welbeck, who, yes, came off the bench, but again hasn't got a start either. And his other main threat, Trossard, seems to have completely fallen out with De Zerbi. Rumours about they haven't been talking to each other since the World Cup's since the World Cup restart. The fact that his attitude's not been impressed by De Zerbi, and it even talks of him leaving the club, not in the squad against Liverpool. So Ferguson suddenly has come in, got the goals, and at 4.5, wow, if I could take Martial out, suddenly bring Ferguson in, just frees up so much money. I can then almost look to upgrade a Somerville to an £8 or £9 million mid. I could go to Saka or someone like that quite comfortably. Or even I could upgrade and maybe even look to get a fourth premium in, someone like Salah. Feels like that's a little bit of a luxury. Maybe I don't want to even go there anyway. But Ferguson is tempting. But there is the issue with game week 25. But at 4.5, just for the next 4 games, I don't see who else is going to play. He's on fire at the moment. I think he looks like a really good option, and there's a real differential as well. But at 4.5, he's not that much of a risk. The main downside, I think, is that you'll just be using up one of those premium striker slots. But 4.5 just keeps coming back to 4.5. It just looks really good. The other option as well in terms of upgrading someone else, which we already talked about with Matoma, he looks brilliant as well. He just passes the eye test. Again, we're looking at so many Brighton players. 3 goals, 3 assists so far this season. I think I would much prefer him over Solly March, even though March is doing the business at the moment. His underlying stats, if you look at them and believe in them, then Matoma is certainly winning that battle. The other one as well we talked about was the flavour of the month, especially in the FPL community. We've looked at him, he's got the double, is Odegaard. Now that protects me from game week 25 because I know they're going to have a fixture. They've got a double as well with the extra fixture in 23. So he is very tempting to go for. His underlying stats are brilliant. We know he's absolutely nailed in that Arsenal midfield. 8 goals, 5 assists, 0.63 is a decent XGI and only 6.8. He looks like a real bargain to be Odegaard. So that could be another player that I could be looking to bring in from Arsenal. And I definitely want to layer up on those Arsenal players with the Brentford fixture and a double in game week 23. So all things considered, if I went ahead and did the Cucurella and Somerville came out, what I could end up with is White and Odegaard, who would have definite games in game week 25 for me, the double in 23. And the way that team would then set out for game week 21 is that Odegaard will play against Manchester United, add with Ben White. I've got a little bit of flexibility and I've got 2 playing players on the bench now, and I've got far less players to worry about in terms of game week 25. But that's the plan at the moment. I'm definitely going to wait and see. It could be that Odegaard is not a White. I'll hold on to them, not this week for Manchester United, and maybe go Matoma or possibly even Ferguson up front. That's it for this one then, guys. Let me know in the comments below who you are bringing in. What are your transfer plans for game week 21 and beyond? Are you doing anything, or are your thoughts distorted by game week 25 and what might happen in that blank game week? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, we'll be back at you with a team selection before the deadline. So in the meantime, take care, good luck, speak to you soon.